more energy was emitted at every wavelength, and the peak of the distribution shifted to the left.
But they still didn't understand how it worked theoretically. So that was sort of the next step, right? Because if you can understand how it works theoretically, then you can use that theory to potentially design your product.
They started by imagining the simplest object possible, one that would absorb all light that falls onto it and perfectly emit radiation based on its temperature. They came up with a hole in a metal cube. This hole is a perfect black body because any light that shines onto it will go straight in, bounce around inside, and eventually be absorbed. But this also makes it a perfect emitter. Any radiation inside the cube can escape through the hole unimpeded. Theorists reasoned that electrons in the walls of the cube would wiggle around, emitting electromagnetic waves. These waves would then bounce off the other waves. When you have two waves of the same frequency, where one travels to the right and the other to the left, they can interfere in such a way that they create places where there's no wave amplitude, those are nodes, and places where there's maximum wave amplitude, antinodes. Waves like this are called standing waves because they don't really move left or right. And inside a cavity, given enough time and reflections, it is only these standing waves that survive. All the other ones just cancel out. So a sort of order emerges from the chaos. In 2 dimensions, standing waves look something like this. For shorter wavelengths or higher frequencies, you can fit more and more different vibrational modes inside this cube. So that in 3 dimensions, the total number of modes is proportional to frequency q, or 1 over lambda q. The expectation was there would be more and more waves inside the cube the shorter the wavelength. This led directly to the Rayleigh-Jeans law. At longer wavelengths, it matched the experimental data pretty well. But at shorter wavelengths, the theory diverged from experiment. In fact, it predicted that at the shortest wavelengths, an infinite amount of energy would be emitted. This, for obvious reasons, became known as the ultraviolet catastrophe. The person to solve this problem was Max Planck.
But Planck almost didn't make it into studying physics. Because when he was 16 years old, he went up to his professor and asked him, well, maybe I could do a career in physics. To which his professor responded that he'd better find another field to research in, because physics was essentially a complete science. You know, there was just a few tiny little problems that they had to clean up. But besides that, it was over.
But Planck didn't listen. By 1897, he was a professor himself, and for the next 3 years, he struggled to find a theoretical explanation for blackbody radiation. He tried approach after approach, but no matter what he tried, nothing worked. He said, I was ready to sacrifice every one of my previous convictions about physical laws. Then, in a, quote, act of desperation, he did something no one had thought to try. According to classical physics, the energy of an electromagnetic wave depends only on its amplitude, not its wavelength or frequency. And it could take any arbitrary value. So any atom could emit any wavelength of light with an arbitrarily small amount of energy. But Planck tried restricting the energy so that it could only come in multiples of a smallest amount, a quantum. And he made the energy of one quantum directly proportional to its frequency, E equals hf, where h is just a constant.